of that investment, as you know, is coming from China. And so I thought maybe we might end with a discussion of what we might call the dragon in the room here. Is that of course much of that investment's been put to good use. But I remember when we met in snowy Switzerland.
Yes.
You had just discovered that the African Union building that you were about to become the chair of, the seat of, was built magnanimously by the Chinese, but was also completely wired to extract all the data and conversations back to Beijing. And then, of course, there are other broader concerns about the effect on sovereignty and the effect of exporting China's authoritarian mercantilist model. I think, not to single out any country, but I think there is an example of Zimbabwe, for example, where China's strong influence there has not been good for the population. So I know that Rwanda has significant Chinese investments. How do you balance issues of sovereignty and debt with economic and infrastructure needs? And what advice do you have for the rest of the African continent or for the United States in terms of how we can compete more effectively against what I think we could agree is a very aggressive these days Chinese Communist Party in terms of the exportation of their model?
Yes. Well, that's a very interesting and very broad question, which has always, exercised people and their minds to try to get to the bottom of. Let me say this. China is present in Africa, is present in Rwanda, and it is present in different parts of Africa differently. How it is present in one part of the continent is not necessarily how it is present in another. It depends on so many things, whether it is the resources they are interested in, or where they will go depending on the weakness or strength of countries. Different things will happen. So much has been talked about debt, that African countries have been burdened or overburdened by debt from China. Starting off with this, I don't think China has forced any country in Africa to take their money to accumulate the kind of debt you may find with some countries. No. So in which case, therefore, I'm saying there is blame to be shared here, if you will. So it can't just be China. It could also be the one who takes the debt to the level that this turns into a big problem. That's one. Number two, I would want maybe United States or Europe or others to consider that if China is aggressive in Africa and getting its way, as said, and so on and so forth, what are the needs of the Africans that actually facilitate so easily the Chinese to find their way into Africa? Maybe those gaps, if they were filled by somebody else, Africa would not have necessarily to go to China to be choked with this amount of debt that they take, or the mistake one may make in that process. So now it goes back to the other thing. How does, therefore, the West, how does the United States, how does Europe engage Africa so that they become a player on the continent and answer to the needs of Africa in a mutually beneficial way, and that reduces on what is perceived as a monopoly of China in terms of investments in Africa? So maybe people need to turn around the question and ask this question. So, but in the case of Rwanda, we deal with China. We deal with all countries, particularly we are friends with the United States. But we deal with all our friends across the world, bearing in mind our limitations, what we need, and what we have to give back, and thinking about how do we remain balanced in our own settings so that the country remains on that track of progress that we need, instead of being taken one side or the other by other people's interests. I'll give you an example. Even in our dealings with China, they know our expectation and we consider their expectation. For example, you cannot ship Chinese and bring them here to do nothing, or to be in offices serving coffee, or no, because we are not short of people who can serve coffee in offices. But if these are engineers or skilled people who are coming to work in industries that we need, or the infrastructure, the roads and other things, we appreciate that. But this has also to be providing employment for the Rwandans, for the Africans. So you don't bring 1 million Chinese to come and build roads or bridges in Rwanda. That is a completely different problem. So therefore we deal with each other based on consideration of each other's terms, and if we are in agreement, then you go along. And that should, by the way, apply to any other person we engage or who makes the kinds of investments with us. Yes. For example, in terms of debt, people talk so much about the debt of China accumulating and creating problems for Africans, but there is a debt accumulated through the Paris Club arrangement. So people don't talk about that. Debt is debt. How it burdens you, it doesn't matter whether it is Chinese or European or United States.
And I think also, it's, as you said, it goes back to good governance, right? And it's the question is what strings are attached to that debt, and to have strong governments in place that can protect their sovereignty. When some of our friends around the world say, "Hey, don't ask us to choose, right, between Washington and Beijing," I often respond, "Hey, it's not a choice between Washington and Beijing. It's a choice between sovereignty and servitude, right?" And so what the United States should do is help countries make the decision in favor of their sovereignty, right? And I think that not all Chinese investment's bad, right? But a lot of it, as in some countries, comes with some strings attached to it and some expectations.
That may be true. Absolutely, that may be true. Yeah. In fact, but though there are strings attached in different ways, even with others apart from China. The strings attached come in the form of control. We experience that.
Over fiscal policy and monetary policy and so forth. Yeah.
Oh, yes, even cross the line and want to govern your country. Sometimes they even want to choose who should be the leader of that country. This is not from China. I'm talking about now the other people who seem to say they do things right. Yeah. In fact, it's important to know how the feelings of people. I tell you from my own side. You see, the experience over the years and when there is this interaction, some of the friends we deal with in the West, they come with this mindset that, Africa is indifferent to human rights, to democracy, to freedom. So they come to do it for us.
Yeah.
Or to tell you that you should be doing it on their demands. Mm-hmm. And we are saying, no, we as human beings, no human being anywhere would want to live by dictates from somebody else.
Right.
My understanding is, no, we are all human beings. We those who believe in God and the creation, they know we are all human beings.
Right.
So there's no way I can allow anybody to lower my values to that level that they are only there because they are around guiding me to realize them, or for my people. Absolutely not. And this is a problem. It has nothing to do with, but this kind of control comes with, they give you this. Oh, I have given you that. I gave you money for development. I did this. So, then I'm just telling you, it's not theoretical. It's not, it's an experience.
Yeah.
Yes. So we need to address this very honestly and openly. With those problems with China, they are there. And we need to address different problems with others as well, because they are there. And we live them every day, yes.
Well, I can't think of a better way to conclude this, because, as I mentioned to you when we talked before, the purpose of this series is to develop what we're calling strategic empathy, the ability to see the world, to see the challenges and opportunities we're facing from the perspective of others. And I can't think of a better session than the one we've had today. And Mr. President, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Every day we're trying to build a new Africa, piece by piece.